The American Revolution. It stands as a beacon in the long, often tumultuous struggle for liberty. It is a testament to the power of courage, determination, and the unwavering belief in self-governance. From the humble fields of Lexington to the sun-drenched fields of Yorktown, a new nation was forged in the fires of rebellion. This was not merely a war for independence, it was a revolution of ideas. It challenged the very notion of monarchy and imperial rule. Ordinary men and women, farmers and shopkeepers, lawyers and blacksmiths rose up to fight for their rights. They fought for the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They fought for a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And in their fight, they changed the course of history. The American Revolution was not inevitable. It was a product of choices made, both by the colonists and the British Crown. It was a product of grievances ignored and freedoms denied. But it was also a product of hope, of the enduring belief that a better world was possible. And it is this hope, this belief in the power of the human spirit to overcome tyranny, that continues to inspire the world today. For over a century, the American colonies had grown and prospered under British rule. But the relationship between the colonies and the mother country was not without its tensions. The seeds of discontent had been sown long before the first shots were fired. After the costly French and Indian War, Parliament, burdened by debt, looked to the colonies for increased revenue. The Stamp Act of 1765, which levied taxes on printed materials, ignited widespread protests across the colonies. The colonists argued that they should not be subjected to taxation without representation in Parliament. This cry of no taxation without representation became a rallying cry for the growing resistance movement. The Townshend Acts of 1767 further inflamed tensions. These acts imposed duties on goods such as tea, glass, and paper. The colonists responded with boycotts of British goods, further straining relations. The stage was set for a confrontation that would forever alter the course of history. The cry of no taxation without representation echoed through the streets of colonial America. It was more than just a slogan. It was a fundamental principle upon which the revolution was built. The colonists firmly believed that they should not be subjected to taxes imposed by a government in which they had no voice. They had no elected representatives in Parliament to voice their concerns or protect their interests. This principle of representation, of government by consent of the governed, was at the heart of the colonists' grievances. They argued that they were entitled to the same rights and liberties as any other British subjects. The British government, however, viewed the colonies as a source of revenue and raw materials to be governed for the benefit of the mother country. They dismissed the colonists' demands for representation as unreasonable and radical. This fundamental clash of principles, of differing visions of the relationship between a government and its people, set the stage for the inevitable conflict. Section 4. Shots heard round the world, Lexington and Concord. The tension that had been building for years finally erupted on April 19, 1775. British troops marched from Boston towards Concord, seeking to seize colonial military supplies. Forewarned by riders including the legendary Paul Revere, the colonists were ready. At Lexington Green, a small group of militiamen faced off against the overwhelming might of the British Army. A shot rang out, followed by a volley of musket fire. 8 colonists lay dead, the first casualties of a revolution. The British continued their march to Concord, but the colonists were not finished. At the North Bridge, they met the British in a fierce battle that forced the Redcoats to retreat. The battles of Lexington and Concord marked the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. The news of the fighting spread like wildfire throughout the colonies, igniting a spirit of resistance that would not be extinguished. Section 5. Washington's Warriors Forging an Army. In the wake of Lexington and Concord, colonial leaders gathered in Philadelphia for the Second Continental Congress. It was there that they made the momentous decision to form the Continental Army. George Washington, a respected Virginia planter and veteran of the French and Indian War, was appointed commander-in-chief. Washington was a man of unwavering integrity, quiet strength and a deep commitment to the cause of liberty. He faced a daunting task. The Continental Army was a ragtag collection of farmers, shopkeepers and artisans, lacking the training and discipline of the British Army. They were poorly equipped and constantly short of supplies. But Washington inspired his men with his leadership and determination. He drilled them relentlessly, instilling a sense of discipline and purpose. He understood that the key to victory lay not only in military might, but in the hearts and minds of his soldiers. Under Washington's leadership, the Continental Army would become a formidable fighting force capable of standing toe-to-toe with the greatest military power in the world. Section 6. Saratoga's Triumph, a Turning Tide. The early years of the war were marked by a series of setbacks and defeats for the Continental Army. The British, with their superior numbers and resources, seemed poised to crush the rebellion, but the tide began to turn in the fall of 1777 at the Battle of Saratoga. British General John Burgoyne, leading a large force south from Canada, was surrounded by American forces under the command of General Horatio Gates. The Americans fought with a ferocity and determination that surprised the British. After a series of bloody engagements, Burgoyne was forced to surrender his entire army. The victory at Saratoga was a turning point in the war. It proved to the world that the American army was a force to be reckoned with, and it had a profound impact on the international stage. Saratoga's triumph would soon bring a new ally into the fight, one that would prove crucial to securing American independence.